physicality is always a limitation, isn't it? You can stretch it, but there is a limitation for physical body. Physical means limit, isn't it? Because the basis of physicality is a limited boundary, isn't it so? Only because there is a limited boundary, you can call this physical. If you take away a defined boundary that a physical form has, there is no such thing as physicality. That which is boundless is not physical, isn't it? So is there a boundary? Definitely there is. Nature has set up substantial limitations upon you, but what I am talking about is you are inventing new limitations. This is not necessary. As it is, nature has set up enough limitations upon you. You don't have to invent new limitations and make yourself much smaller than what you are. Generally, there's so much talk about God and heaven and nonsense, mainly because human beings have not realized the immensity of what it means to be human. That is the main problem. If you are experiencing the immensity of what it means to be human, you wouldn't be talking so much about other things. This is a grand thing by itself. He makes a fish into a human being over the afternoon. Is it not a grand thing? But he is doing it unconsciously. If he can consciously convert a fish into a human being, it is a phenomena, isn't it? It is an impossible phenomena which all of you are performing, but unconsciously. So how much of you has entered into your consciousness? That's a question. If you look at it, actually, not even 1% of who you are has entered into your consciousness right now. If a few more percentage points enter, suddenly everything that you do looks like superhuman. Now, people around me every day witness things which they can't believe. So people keep on saying, Sadhguru, are you superhuman? Are you a human being? I keep reminding them, this is not about being superhuman. This is about realizing being human is super. It's not a miracle, it is doable. Nothing miraculous about it. Now I am talking about a technology to make you into a miracle. But this is not a miracle. All technologies look like miracle, isn't it? Suppose you know nothing about electricity and the hall is dark right now and I tell you, you just watch it now, I will just touch this part of the wall and the hall will be flooded with light. And if I do it, wow, you will bow down to me. Anything that you do not understand is a miracle for you, isn't it? Now I'm going to pull out something from my pocket, just a combination of plastic and metal. I'm going to do this and talk to somebody in India or America or where you want. Is this a miracle or not? The problem is all of you have it, this is the problem. Only if I had it, if I had a cell phone 1,000 years ago, I would have become God himself. The damn thing came to me too late. If I had a light bulb 1,000 years ago, I could have become a god. The damn thing came too late. Technologies never come in time, Anything that you do not understand is a miracle for you. And at the same time, is there any one thing that you truly understand? Do you understand this flower? You may have studied botany for 10,000 years, but do you understand this flower fully? Do you understand a single atom in this existence? Do you? No? So everything is a miracle. If you look deep enough, everything is miraculous. On one level, everything is explainable. On another level, everything is miraculous. That's the beauty of life. If you have the necessary reason and the necessary sense of wonder and inquiry in you, you can know it all and still wonder about it, because you can study this flower for the rest of your life and still wonder about it. That's the beauty of existence, isn't it? Or you can be a fool who will draw conclusions about this flower and believe you know it. That's a difference. Everything about your life is like this, isn't it so? So it's miraculous and mundane at the same time. It is within reason and beyond reason at the same time. It is human and divine at the same time. You can play between the two. It's very beautiful. You can also become an animal, you know. Very easily human beings can behave like animals, isn't it? Because what is human is not established. You can freely, seamlessly move from animal nature to human nature to divine nature and back again if you wish. It's very beautiful. Don't mess it up.
Just as there are two dimensions in the external world, in the same way there are two dimensions in your inner world as well. The two dimensions in the external world are the dimensions of space and objects. There is this dimension of space, and all the objects, the galaxies, the stars, the planets, everything is contained in it. If you have a close look within yourself, you will come across the same two dimensions, the dimension of space and the dimension of objects. The dimension of space represents your divine nature, the consciousness, and the dimension of objects represents your human nature, the body-mind complex. Your body and mind exist in the space of consciousness. Just as the objects in the external world can't exist without space, similarly this body-mind complex cannot exist without the space of consciousness, without the real, conscious, infinite you. Just as the physical space allows all the objects to be, in the same way space of consciousness allows this body-mind complex to be. These two dimensions belong to you. But for most of the people in this world, the dimension of consciousness is practically non-existent. It doesn't exist for them at all. All they know is the body-mind complex. They have lost touch with the space of consciousness, because of which body-mind complex exists, and that's why they suffer. You can go beyond suffering and recognize your highest potential only when you regain touch with this long forgotten dimension of space within yourself. The space of consciousness within you is your real nature, and that is the divine within you. But all you care about is your body-mind complex. If you want your life to reach its highest potential, then the flower of consciousness should blossom within you. If you want to reach your highest potential, then you will have to access the dimension of consciousness within yourself. And it's only in human form can this consciousness be realized. In no other form is it possible. You don't know how fortunate you are to have this human form. Scriptures say that there are three things which are hard to come by in this world, which are very hard to obtain in this world. And those three things are the human form, the burning desire to know one's real nature, and the access to spiritual teachings or the company of the spiritual master. And whoever gets these three things must have received the grace of the universe, must have received the grace of existence. You can also call it the grace of God, the grace of Krishna, the grace of Christ or Buddha. The point is, if anyone has got these three things, then he or she must consider himself or herself very fortunate and should not take these things for granted. Now, some of you may say that the population of this world is so much, then how can you say that human form is rare? If you really think so, then I would like to draw your attention to the number of other living creatures. You cannot even count them. Compared to their number, the human population would seem a very minute fraction of theirs. So yes, this human body that you have got is rare indeed. Now the thing becomes a bit more interesting here. The current population of the world is around 8 billion. But just have a close look and see for yourself how many of these people have this burning desire to know themselves. How many of these people really want to inquire into their real nature. How many of these are interested in accessing the dimension of space within themselves. Majority of them are fully convinced that they are nothing but the body, that they are nothing but the mind. They think that their existence is limited to this body-mind complex, which means that they are fully convinced that they would cease to exist after this body dies. Majority have this strong conviction. Isn't that so? If you ask them who are they really, they would just tell you all the titles that they hold in this material world. They derive their very identity from these titles. They are completely unaware of the dimension of consciousness which allows their body-mind complex to exist. They are completely unaware of the possibility of going beyond this body-mind complex. They are completely ignorant of the fact that it's possible in this very lifetime to know one's divine infinite nature. All it requires is a sincere inquiry. All it requires is an honest inquiry into one's real nature. Just to look within and see whether they are really the body, whether they are really the mind. So you see, only a handful of people want to know themselves. Only a handful of people want to access this dimension of consciousness within themselves. The third thing that the scriptures give immense importance to is the company of spiritual master or the access to spiritual teachings. Again, you would find the number of such people to be very, very small. You would find only a handful of people who have access to spiritual teachings and who have the company of the spiritual master. So, if you have got all these three things, the human body, the burning desire to know yourself beyond this body-mind complex, and the company of the spiritual master and access to spiritual teachings, then don't let this great opportunity of knowing your divine infinite nature slip away.